I have been hands-on with and have been using Samsung's latest Galaxy S24 for the last little while now, and I've been really impressed. Here's the thing, I've only really been interested in flagship level devices for a while now. Things like the Ultra or Pro Max, because they're typically the devices without compromise. From incredible zoom cameras to high resolution and large displays, as well as premium materials, something like the S24 just isn't in my line of sight. However, I've been having such a good experience thus far with the bigger brother, the S24 Ultra, that I've decided to trickle down the family tree and give Samsung's Galaxy S24 a run for its money. Upon first impressions, there's a lot to like about the S24. First of all, its price tag just being significantly more reasonable, with this unit costing me 960 Canadian dollars or just about $700 for you Americans. Considering that the Pixel 8 cost me $699 US, it's crazy to think how much you're getting with the S24. Granted, this is the sale price that I paid, being $200 off, but you can find these on sale for quite often. I've already seen it drop a couple of times on Amazon, so when it comes to the MSRP, I just don't think you should consider it at its full price. The chipset, for starters, is Qualcomm's latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 made for Galaxy. I've spent a lot of time with the 8 Gen 3 across the S24 Ultra and the S24 I have here, and it hasn't let me down once. In fact, it's actually been really impressive. Not only when it comes to the performance, which is great, but the efficiency this chip brings this year is impressive. I've thrown everything from games to Lightroom exports to long watch viewing sessions on this device, and it doesn't break a sweat. Much like its bigger brother, the S24 Ultra, I've just never felt this phone get warm to the touch except for the initial setup period, though I was transferring a ton of data over USB with the S24 Ultra, so that kind of makes sense. Granted, I'm not a power user by any means, but I think whoever is buying this phone will be really happy with what they're getting here. I'm seriously impressed to see this amount of power packed inside of a compact chassis that doesn't have an issue with keeping up with the demand. But before we do go any further, a like and a sub to the channel is always appreciated. Thank you so much for 30,000 subscribers. It really means a lot, and I can't thank you enough. Anyways, speaking of compact though, I think that that's a good transition, as the S24 is a tiny phone, at least for today's standards. With a 6.2-inch display, the S24 is very comfortable to handle, especially one-handed. No funny business when it comes to balancing the device, and given that it only weighs 168 grams, using it for long hours just isn't a problem at all. Unlike the Ultra, Samsung isn't using titanium in the regular S24 lineup. The inclusion of Armor Aluminum this year retains the matte finish and look as its bigger brother, no longer featuring glossy sides, which did get quite annoying to clean up. I'm also really liking this subtle look that Samsung's resorted to by not having a camera housing. I think this is the second year that they've done it, starting with the S23, but it does add some sort of character to these devices and lets you know they're all a part of the same product lineup. I'm also just a big fan of how clean it looks. Back to the display though, for this price point, I was pleasantly surprised. The 6.2-inch display is rocking a dynamic LTPO AMOLED 2X display with a 120Hz refresh rate, HDR10 Plus support for piercing white points and stunning contrast, and a 2600 nit peak brightness. While the resolution may only be 1080p, I think it's important to note that at this size, the pixel density is still really high at 416 ppi. I promise you, you'll have a really hard time finding the difference between something like the S24, the Pixel 8, and even the S24 Ultra, despite this being incredibly higher. Just like the S24 Ultra though, it's a vivid display with amazing contrast, and everything you watch on this AMOLED pops with perfect blacks. Though the one thing about this phone that really gets me is the brightness. No matter what situation you throw this thing in, you're able to read it perfectly fine without any problems at all. And I'm so happy the race for the brightest display has started to happen, because even having this trickle down into a more budget-friendly option is insane. And I know I didn't just call this phone budget. Hear me out. When I look at flagships, I feel like anything below a flagship is a cheaper option. I feel like these are what people want to go for, and okay. I'm out of touch. Whatever, let's just move on. And thanks to the new anti-reflective coating on the Galaxy lineup this time around, using this outside is unlike any other phone that I've experienced. Like I was just saying, I don't really spend a lot of time with phones that are under that flagship umbrella. So I could be speaking out of line here, but at least in Canada, This has to be one of the best displays that I've seen on a phone in this price category and for this size. Of course, the S24 also comes packed with One UI 6.1 on Android 14. And there's a lot of good things that come out of this. Being able to customize your lock screen without using apps like Good Lock, impressive AI features despite them being Google's features that are rebranded and repackaged, and an all-new look to the core system elements of One UI. I said this in my last video about the S24 Ultra, but this is even more so true after spending more time with it. One UI 6 has become easily my favorite Android skin. The AI features are also useful. Circle to search allows me to find things that I'm interested in quickly. Just by taking a photo of something like my lav mic, I'm able to hold down the navigation bar, circle the object I want to search, and immediately I'm shown results for the DJI Mic 2. This also works great for looking up a vehicle you don't know the name of, which I've done, for items that you see on TV or YouTube and you want to learn more about it, like a breed of a dog or something. Now, whatever your take is on AI, I really don't think that these should be sold as a feature, as a lot of these and what makes them tick isn't actually the hardware. Sure, there are some on-device things that are happening, but most AI features, especially when I'm speaking about something like the Pixel, are all happening over the cloud. There is no reason something like that can't be done on any phone, like an iPhone, for example. But it's because it's a feature and limited to these devices that make these devices more compelling for me. Having the functionality of some of these AI tools in my pocket at all times have actually kind of changed my purchasing decision in recent years, and that started with the Pixel 8 Pro. Seeing what that phone was capable of doing made me feel like my iPhone was just stupid. Now, we're kind of in that middle point of the video where I want to talk about some things that I just don't like or are confusing about the S24 before I give this a more glaring and positive review. Despite not a lot of people having access to it, at this point in time, the S24 does not have Wi-Fi 7, unlike the S24 Ultra. While the battery life is improved this year with better efficiency, I also think that Samsung should have upped the charging speed from 25 watts because it's quite slow. There's also a 128 gig and 256 gig version of this device with 8 gigs of RAM, rather than the 12 gigs that's advertised, so be careful which one you're opting for and make the right decision for you. The quality of the speakers, while loud, didn't really impress me, though I think they sound fine, just fine. Lastly, there is a variant of this device using UFS 3.1 storage that is the lowest end 128 gig model. That's a big shocker considering how much of a difference UFS 4.0 makes, but also considering the price of this phone, I really don't think that it should have been UFS 3.1. I feel like that just makes the whole, build process and whatever really confusing and probably more expensive for Samsung. Aside from that, well, there really isn't much to dislike about this phone. It does what it needs to do, and it does it well. It hurts calling this affordable these days, but as far as buying from a premium, reputable brand goes, I don't see the grass being much greener anywhere else. I also know that a lot of phone reviews have turned into camera reviews at this point, but I'll make this one quick. The S24 is rocking 3 shooters on the back, a 50 megapixel wide, a 10 megapixel 3x telephoto, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide, as well as a 12 megapixel front-facing camera with dual pixel phase detect autofocus. I'm very happy with the results the S24 is pumping out. The 3 to 5 times range is usually my sweet spot, so it's nice to have that 3x telephoto compared to the 2x that's on the iPhone 15. The images are sharp, clean, and have a good color science that is much like its bigger brother, making the images shareable right out of the camera. It wasn't that long ago where devices like the S10 hit the market, and it's just crazy to see how far Samsung has come in image quality since then. I also have a real full-length day in the life video coming out to this channel soon where I'm going to be taking a look at the S24 in my day-to-day. And if you want to see that, make sure you get subscribed and stay tuned. And in that video, I will be showing you the images and videos that I've took throughout the day using this phone. But as for images that I've taken thus far, I'm pretty pleased. All of the lenses this year are very usable. There's no shutter lag, the processing looks good, and even for video, the S24 is looking great, allowing you to shoot up to 8K at 30 frames per second or 4K 60. The Galaxy S24 is a great shooter and offers a very viable camera for those who are looking to do social media. Also, allowing you to shoot 4K 60 is a great bonus for B-roll shots or slowing things down by 2 times without introducing any cut frames. Throw this thing on a little tripod and you have a very compact vlogging setup that I personally would feel confident in using here on this channel. However, this does suffer from what I'm going to start calling Samsung syndrome, which is something that doesn't get fixed on the S24 Ultra. There is just too much noise in dim, dark environments. And I'm not expecting these small sensors to give me a clean shot in low light, but I also wouldn't expect it to perform the way that it does. Scratch recording at nighttime if you want any usable footage, and don't even bother taking photos past 5 p.m. here in Canada when the sun goes down. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit, but there are times where I genuinely wish that I had something else in my hand when it gets a little dark outside, like a Pixel or an iPhone. However, don't let this bum you out. There's already been an update to the camera, which I feel like has already made a tiny difference, and I don't see why this processing can't be tweaked any more so into the future. But at the moment, it's still annoying to me. Now, of course, there's features that I don't cover frequently on this channel that I feel like deserve the spotlight here, especially for a device this price, like Samsung DeX. I think most people, myself included, forget about DeX, but the truth is, it's quite literally a desktop replacement. Being able to use your device plugged into a display with peripherals and do real tasks like word processing, spreadsheets, and browsing in a desktop environment is crazy. But still, my favorite thing about this device is that you're getting the best features. Things that make Samsung's phone tick, with incredible software and performance in a package that doesn't intrude in your everyday life. It's easy to carry around, it's comfortable, it's light, and it's without compromise, at least if you ignore the difference in specifications on the lower storage models. If I were to use a compact phone here in 2024, it would be a tough toss-up between the Pixel 8 and the S24 Ultra, but I think, not the Ultra, the S24, but I think that I would be leaning more so to the S24. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like down below, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.